I think this is honestly the first video I've actually dreaded putting out, but I have to do it for the industry, which is why agents are not coming to eXp and why you should not join eXp if you don't properly understand the three things I'm about to break down in this video. Let me explain. After every single time I talk to an agent about my record-breaking group when they come to me from my YouTube channel, I continuously get the exact same response every single time, which is, Mike, it seems like it's too good to be true. Why isn't everybody here? Well, let me tell you why everybody's not here and why you shouldn't be joining eXp either. So without further ado, I'm gonna break down the 3 reasons why you should not be joining eXp Realty this year unless you properly understand what I'm about to break down for you. What's up, guys? My name is Mike Sharp with eXp Realty. I'm the #1 personal attractor globally at the brokerage without reaching out to a single agent, with the most number of personally sponsored agents and the most number of actively producing personally sponsored agents. But this is really important because I constantly hear people saying, I'm not going to join eXp, or eXp Realty is not right for me, or Mike, why isn't everybody at eXp if they properly understand it? So I'm just going to tell you. So let's dive in. And the first thing I'm going to do is actually share my screen here, and I'm going to walk you through the first thing that I want to talk about, which is that most agents don't even understand how the real estate industry works. Okay, so we've got my screen up here, and I want to break down the evolution of the real estate industry because most people don't even understand how their business actually works. And I constantly hear nonsense from uneducated agents saying, Mike, eXp Realty looks like a pyramid scheme. So let me break down how the real estate industry actually works. So in the beginning of the times of real estate agents getting into the industry, there was something called a no cap model. So let me explain to you what happened with the no cap model. There would be brokerages like 70-30 split, 60-40 split with no cap. That means similar to, you'll see something these days like Compass, which is on an 80-20 with no cap, meaning that if you're on an 80-20 with no cap, you pay 20% no matter what to the brokerage. That means that you could do 10 deals, 20 deals, 100 deals, 1,000 deals. You are paying 20% no matter what. Basically meaning your broker is robbing you. So the next thing I want to break down is what happened after that, is you brought in a cap model. And what happened with this is why a brokerage like Keller Williams became so disruptive, because they brought in and said, okay, I'm gonna have a 70-30 split, but what I'm going to do on top of that is I'm going to make an 18,000 or more cap, meaning that once that 30% equals 18,000, then you've capped. You're now at 100% commission. Now, the one caveat to Keller Williams is the fact that they were still a franchise brokerage. So these were franchise, meaning they had physical brick and mortar brokerages and a franchise structure. This was franchise as well, meaning that you also had franchise fees. With KW, you've got a 6% franchise fee on top of that. So what happens is you were paying a little bit of extra, but it was disruptive. And that's why KW became the #1 brokerage in the world. They grew the fastest. They took massive market share because agents were excited that once they hit a certain criteria, well, they don't have to pay the brokerage anymore. Why wouldn't you want that? So what happened after that is when eXp Realty came along, and what they did is said, okay, I'm going to have a cap model, but I'm going to eliminate the franchise structure and I'm going to give ownership in the brokerage to the agent. And I'm going to break this down for you so that you properly understand it. But what eXp did is they came in and said, okay, I'm going to do 80-20, but I'm going to have a $16,000 cap. And then I'm going to have something called the Icon program, and I'm going to give ownership. And what the Icon program is that if you cap plus 20 transactions, or if you do $500,000 in GCI with a minimum of 10 transactions, you get your entire $16,000 cap back for free in company stock in ownership. Now, the ownership part is really, really important that I want to talk about here. And the reason being is because at most brokerages, you're essentially renting your real estate business. If you're at a brokerage where you're paying a monthly fee and you do not have ownership in the brokerage, you're renting your business. But you're telling buyers to buy your property, not rent, because you get equity ownership, not paying 100% interest because you want ownership, right? So it doesn't make sense when agents are telling clients to do something, but they're not looking at that from the same perspective as their business. Now, let's look at how franchise brokerages are structured and why eXp is so disruptive before we move on to the next set of criteria. So what happens here is, let's look at a traditional franchise brokerage. This is how the majority of them are structured, where you've got a 5-tier system, or a pyramid as some people like to call it. And this is how any corporation is structured. Newsflash, if people don't know how corporations are structured, they all have a pyramid. So let me explain how franchise brokerages work. You've got the ownership at the top, then you've got the international owners that buy into a franchise in Canada, then you've got the regional owners that buy into a franchise in Alberta, then you've got the broker owners that buy into or open a office here in Calgary, and then you've got the agents at the bottom, right? So let's look at what happened with eXp and why it became so disruptive. So what eXp did is said, hey, we're going to go independent, and what we're going to do instead is we're going to have a two-tier system. We're going to have the ownership at the top, and then we're going to have the agent. And what happens is they eliminated the franchise structure and the people that bought into the franchise system. So let me explain how powerful this is. Last year in 2021, eXp gave $125 million to the agents for helping the company grow. So that goes straight to the agents. At any other brokerage that is under a traditional franchise structure, that $125 million would have went here to the international, regional, and broker owners that paid into the franchise system. So by eliminating that franchise system, eXp can afford to give more back to the agents, because by dropping overhead, reducing expenses, going cloud-based, removing the number one expense, which is the offices, well, you can give more back to the agents. And yes, you've got multiple tiers of compensation, but it's doing the exact same thing you would at any other brokerage. And let me explain that before we get into the next point, is when I was a brand new agent, I joined a brokerage called Remax, and then I went to a different brokerage, which was a local boutique brokerage. Now let me explain what happened here. Whenever I was at Remax or the local boutique brokerage, every single time an agent reached out to me and said, Mike, I just got my license, or I'm thinking about switching brokerages because I'm not happy where I'm at. Where do you think I told them when I was at the local boutique brokerage? Do you think I told them Century 21 or Coldwell Banker or Sotheby's or Compass or any other brokerage? No, you never would. I told them my brokerage. The only difference is I got nothing for doing that. And at this brokerage, I again have never reached out to a single agent. I've never called, texted, emailed, DM'd, or sent anything to any agent about eXp. And I had a multiple 5-figure per month residual income after 1 year and approaching 6 figures after 2 years. So now that we understand the fact that eXp was a disruptor by giving, again, ownership in the brokerage to the agents and eliminating the franchise structure, now let's go on to the second part of this video. So the second thing I want to dive into is if you do not understand why you even got into real estate. That sounds like a bit of a controversial subject, and maybe it's going to be depending on how you want to take this and if you can remove ego and emotion from this viewing experience. But let me explain, because I talk to so many agents, again, about 100 a month one-on-one that are coming to me from the link that's in my calendar. And I always ask agents, why did you get into real estate? And the consistent feedback is, I wanted to create wealth. I want to create a flexible lifestyle. Well, let's unpack that for a second then. Wealth requires 4 things, hence the wealth quadrant. Well, that requires duplication, equity ownership, passive or residual income, multiple streams of income. The traditional way of creating wealth by an agent, since you cannot create wealth by the nature of being an agent at most brokerages, what you've had to do in the past is trade enormous amounts of time for active income in the form of commission, then reinvest your commission into real estate if you can even save up enough so you have duplication of doors, equity ownership in properties, passive or residual income, multiple streams of income. Well, if you want to double your residual income by doing it the old school way or the traditional way, you have to go trade more time for more money and do it again. But here's the thing. Everybody wants time back. So with eXp Realty, we have all 4 components of the wealth quadrant. We have duplication, equity, passive residual income, which is residual income, and multiple streams of income. So now you're actually building wealth by the nature of being an agent, and you can reinvest your residual income into investment opportunities, which has lower risk, because guess what? It's coming back next month. So the second aspect is lifestyle. You need 2 things to create a flexible lifestyle: money freedom, time freedom. You can create money freedom at any brokerage in the world. You cannot create time freedom, because if you have one income stream that requires your time invested in creating it and you don't invest your time, you have no income. So when you look at eXp, that's why it's commonly referred to as the lifestyle brokerage, because you can actually create a flexible lifestyle. When I was at my past boutique brokerage, I went to the Maldives and Thailand one year. Miserable experience because I was on the other side of the world trying to enjoy my time. I was getting calls, messages, emails from clients, deals going sideways, all kinds of things because it was a shifting market, and I couldn't be present on vacation. Because at a traditional brokerage, you pay for every vacation twice. Once for the vacation, once for the opportunity cost of lost clients while on vacation. Whereas with eXp, we have the ability to create a flexible lifestyle because we have money freedom and time freedom. Time freedom comes through the leverage and the residual income that you get by the nature of doing what you'd already be doing. So the question you have to ask yourself is, are you even in the right vehicle to get you to where you want to be? That's actually why I joined the brokerage, because at the end of my third year being a top producer, I ended up taking a step back around the end of 2019 before we all know what hit in 2020. But I sat down and had a heart-to-heart with myself and said, listen, I want to get to this point in my life. I want time freedom. I want to be able to travel. I want to spend time with my family, with my friends, my passions, hobbies. And the only way I can do that is to make more money. But the issue is that if I want to make more money, I have to invest more time, but the goal is to get time back. So I asked myself, am I even in a vehicle, meaning the brokerage, that will get me to where I want to be? And what I found was the answer is no. But most people can't get out of the rut and slow down for a second, even think about, are they even in a vehicle that will give them the time freedom to spend with their kids, their spouse, whatever that they got into the industry to achieve, because they're just caught in this hamster wheel of doing the same thing over and over and over. Now, let me explain the second reason why most people don't come to eXp, because they don't acknowledge that the training at most brokerages is flawed. Let me explain why that's the case. I get messages from agents every single day on Instagram, on email, from people saying, Mike, none of the top producing agents at my brokerage want to share their top information with me. Well, no, duh, because they're creating competition within their own office, right? So that's why people go to the number one office in their city where all the top agents are, and they don't get anything from it. I did that as a brand new agent. I went to the office where all the heavy hitters were, all the billboards, all the signs, and doing luxury things like that. And none of them would talk to me. None of them would share how to do that. Why would they? They want to keep it for themselves. They don't want to give it to somebody that's young and ambitious or new and ambitious. They want to keep it for themselves. Whereas at eXp, it was the first time in history that those icon agents, that top 1% that's doing cap plus 20 deals or 500K in GCI a year, the top agents from all 87,000 plus are the ones doing the training 50 hours a week in the cloud. So now you're getting training by the top agents in this market, not a past market, not a recent market, this market, which is really powerful. And again, you've got agents from all over the world, different markets, different states, provinces, countries, cities, everything, that are all sharing their best information with you. The third reason why you should not join eXp Realty is if you're not willing to adapt. And let me let you in on a little secret here. The ones that don't adapt are going to fail. And what you need to understand is that the ones that win in business are the ones that are the most willing to adapt. It's not the ones with the most experience. It's not the ones with the biggest budget. It's the ones willing to get outside of their comfort zone, look at where the industry is going. For example, my forte is video. Why did they get on a video as a massive introvert that was petrified of getting on camera? Because I knew that's where things were going, so I had to develop that skill if I wanted to not only stay relevant, but one step ahead of the competition. Well, the same thing goes with the brokerage models. Look at what happened with Blockbuster. Everybody said, oh, you need to be able to walk into a movie store and you need to be able to see it and feel it and touch the movies. Well, what happened to Blockbuster? Everybody said, oh, the taxi industry, nobody's gonna get into cars with random people in random cars. What happened to the taxi industry when Uber came along? So what you'll start to see is that everybody says, you need a physical brick and mortar brokerage, you need an office to be able to go into clients. Nobody does that. Go on Zoom, go to a coffee shop, go to a restaurant, go to their house. You do get free access to any of the Regis offices across North America at eXp anyway, but this is where the industry's heading, and the ones that are not willing to adapt will fall behind. So if you don't want to adapt, don't come to eXp. Fall behind and you'll not be in the industry in a couple of years from now. And to drive that point home even further, I transparently polled my group last year at the Wolfpack. 100% of the agents that joined us last year said they felt more intimately connected to our group virtually than the physical brick and mortar they came from. How powerful is that? Because here's the thing, we're in a new era of community. And what happens is we still do in-person events. We still have local meetups. We still get together in person, but the cadence and the frequency of being in touch on Zoom and virtually still allows you to move the needle of your business further, which is why the average agent that joined us over doubled the production last year, because they're getting immediate support. They're getting immediate training. They're getting immediate mentorship in order to help their business grow. They're not having to drive, wait, book meetings, book appointments, and waste a bunch of time. And when you save time and reinvest that time back in income producing activities, guess what? Your income goes up. And that's the beauty of the cloud-based brokerage, having 2,000 employees in there to help you 24 hours a day. Whereas at your brokerage, you don't have that. You have to call support, email your broker, set an appointment, find out when they have time, if they even have time for you. But either which way, it slows the growth of your business. So ultimately, if you want to stay behind the curve, go for it. Right? That's why you should not be joining eXp. If you're not willing to adapt, if you don't want to get ahead of the curve, if you don't want to build a sustainable, predictable business and be an early adopter in what will become the future of the industry. Because if you look at it, if you break down the numbers right now and you look at all the brokerages in North America and you look at the ones that are physical brick and mortar versus the ones that are cloud-based, guess which ones are growing and guess which ones are losing agents. All of the cloud-based brokerages are growing. Almost all of the brick and mortar brokerages are dying. So ultimately, you need to look at what is the best for your business, especially as we're going into the shifting market, because what got you here will not get you to where you want to go. And what you did to get here, if you continue to do it, will not allow you to thrive in coming markets, because you need to adapt. So you might as well do it before it becomes a norm and you're forced to do it. So if you want to know more about our record-breaking group or anything else about the company, again, feel free to book a meeting below. But otherwise, hopefully this gives you a clear understanding of why so many people are not looking at this opportunity, because at the end of the day, they just don't understand.